Hey everybody, this is Catherine McAdoo. For this case study, I chose Jessica. There are a couple needs that I saw. She needs financial help. She needs child care help. I see she needs housing, employment, transportation, and possibly continuing her education. So to start off, I think her most immediate need is financial assistance. Now, she is low income, so that I would recommend that Jessica call volunteer lawyers and get herself a lawyer to help her apply for SSDI for her son, John. He's autistic, and therefore he does qualify for Social Security disability. In some of the articles I read that the U.S. government has $2.7 trillion set aside until the year 2033. So the money's there. She just has to apply for it. Another benefit of applying for the SSDI would be that upon approval, her son John would then receive Medicaid. And upon receiving Medicaid, he would be able to continue his speech and occupational therapy at no cost to the family, which would lighten the financial burden. The next category I kind of lumped together: child support, child custody, and domestic violence. Again, I would recommend that she call the volunteer lawyers and get herself a lawyer. She deserves child support. Unfortunately, in the United States, 41.5% of families headed by mothers who work full-time are still below the poverty level. And by applying for the child support and then receiving it, it would again help relieve her financial burden. Along with the child support, I would hope that the lawyer would file for child custody. In doing so, although it's not financial, it goes along with the child support, and it falls under a subcategory. By filing for custody, Jessica would be able to legally control when her ex can see her son and have a court mediator there. In applying for the child custody, the domestic violence issue would come out and have to be dealt with. While I did look at some case studies, I did look at Jessica's case study, and it did not state that law enforcement had been involved. But the good thing about domestic violence is that the court allows for empirical evidence to be admitted in regards to the domestic violence. So even if there are no records, it doesn't mean it didn't happen, and the courts will acknowledge it. And by lumping all those together and taking care of all those issues at the same time, I think it would go a long way into helping her financially. It would help her ease her worry about contact with the son due to the domestic violence issues, and it would bring the domestic violence to the forefront, and hopefully she could get some help herself, because she has a previous history of another relationship with domestic violence. So it's a pattern, and hopefully she would be able to get some domestic violence treatment through the court system as well with her lawyer. The next major need that I saw that she needed would be her child care. Although she has a sister, the sister has a life and possibly would get a job or do something where she couldn't look after the boy. Through the Department of Human Services, child care subsidies are available for low-income families, and especially for families with special needs children. They are top priority. They are put at the top of the list. So she would have to apply through DHS for subsidies for her child care. Next issue would be housing. And again, this is financial because she has a home, she pays her rent, but she's short on money. I would have her apply for HUD housing. It would provide the ease of easing her financial burden. Through HUD, you only have to pay a small percentage of your annual income. Also, in addition to HUD, they also have rent to own for low-income families. The government has now set up these rent to own low-income things through the banks, and you have a long-term I want to say not lease, but you have a long-term lease, and for the first year you're paying rent, and then every year after that you pay just toward you owning the home, and it's also a percentage of your net income. The next would be employment and transportation. If she has done the first steps, i.e. getting housing help, child care through HUD, Department of Human Services, financial assistance through SSDI, and child support, it should open up a lot of cash for her to spend on either buying herself a reliable vehicle, or I would suggest that she start to look for jobs closer to home. It says she works at a nursing home, and she's an NA. Now, in order to be an NA, you're state licensed, and that state license enables you to work in hospitals, in hospice, from hospitals to hospice. She can work almost anywhere. She can work in private doctors' offices, everywhere. So as her social worker, I would encourage her to explore other avenues of employment. And then finally, continuing her education. I would encourage her to apply for FAFSA, and a lot of these online colleges let you finish the work at your own speed. They don't have time limits set like regular classes do, like one semester or not. So she would be able to continue her education at the pace which is comfortable to her. So yes, those are the needs and the recommendations that I have. Thank you.